No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me. Happy together.
What's up, guys? Benny. There's been speculation that J.D. Vance will run for president as Donald Trump is term limited, unless you believe the Trump 2028 hype. I personally don't. I don't think that they're going to try and change the Constitution or have Donald Trump run as vice president to JD and then they do a co-presidency thing. There's a lot of different theories out there. I think the cleanest option is that President Trump rides off into the sunset, or I don't know, builds a giant hotel in DC and sticks around as an advisor to the America First movement. Whatever it is, JD runs. I think that's what the money is saying. That's also what JD is saying in a recent interview on Podforce 1 with Miranda Devine. JD Vance says, Donald Trump's talking to me about running for president. But now we have confirmation from someone that is not JD or Donald Trump, who is the most trusted advisor in the entire administration about all of this. Here's what JD said just a few weeks ago. We're going to follow this up with something very interesting.
Feel about that, and have you talked to the Secretary Rubio about it?
I've joked with the secretary about it. So the president first raised this with me probably 6 months or so ago,
right?
During just one of our private lunches that we try to get lunch every couple of weeks just to catch up on what's going on and talk about things. He mentioned it probably 6 months or so ago, and I mentioned to the secretary in jest, but it feels so premature because we're still so early. And what I always say to people is, if we take care of business, the politics will take care of itself. And we're 9 months into this thing. We've done a lot of good. There's a lot more work to do because
I think it's a good answer. But what he let slip there is that Donald Trump is talking with him about running for president, saying that Trump is effectively endorsing JD, and Trump has gone out and endorsed JD a couple of different times. In two different comments about 2028, President Trump has said not only that JD would be great, but that Marco Rubio would also be a great vice president. Now, Marco Rubio and JD are really, really close. And obviously, JD's answer there makes a ton of sense. You don't want to put your own ambitions ahead of the administration. This is clearly what Kamala Harris was doing with Joe Biden. It was grotesque. It made her the least liked vice president in history. JD swore in Marco Rubio. The two of them are often joking, jarring, and jabbing at each other, but have a lot of professional respect, like when Marco Rubio addressed the RNC. This is what JD Vance said. "This is worth watching in full. Marco is incredibly talented and understands the task before us to rebuild American industry and vitality better than almost anyone." So anyway, the two of them are friends, and now with the brand new Vanity Fair article out, which is bewildering that the administration would allow Vanity Fair, of all people, inside of the administration, unfettered access inside of the administration to scoop everybody's darkest secrets. There's a lot of damage control that's being done on this right now, but this one doesn't need any damage control. Mr. Rubio told Mr. Whipple that what he said publicly, if J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee. I'll be one of the first people to support him. Still underlying tension came through when Mr. Vance posed for a magazine photographer saying, "I'll give you $100 for every person you make look really shitty compared to me." Vance joked, "and $1,000 if it's Marco." So, let's break this down. So JD Vance is telling the photographer for Vanity Fair to make Marco Rubio look shitty, and here's a lot of money if you can do it. And then Marco Rubio is saying that JD Vance will be our nominee and then presumably our next president. I'll be one of the first people to support him. So you mix that with what President Trump has said before, that Marco Rubio and JD Vance would make a golden ticket. Unstoppable is the term that President Trump used. And you kind of see a picture of what's already been created, what's already been planned, right, is a JD Vance, Marco Rubio populist ticket. Marco Rubio rules out 2028 run if JD Vance seeks Republican nomination. Two of them are obviously friends. They're also beloved by the base. Been a huge turnaround for Marco Rubio, obviously, with the base. He is roundly and regularly considered the best Trump cabinet appointee nominee. Polls really, really high. Republican presidential nominee 2028, J.D. Vance at 53%, Marco Rubio at 8%, Donald Trump at 5%. And you got Ron DeSantis, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump Jr. But of course, J.D. Vance and Marco clearing the field and running away with it. Presidential primaries, Vance is at 45%. Trump Jr., who would not run against Vance because they're boys, at 12%. DeSantis and Rubio here rounding it out. Florida coming in strong, but I don't know. I think that DeSantis doesn't stand a chance if Marco's in it, and if the administration sort of locks in to more of a populist agenda, which seems like Trump's going to do in a announcement that he's going to give a live address 9 p.m. tomorrow night. President Trump just announced that. We'll be live for it. It'll be on the state of the economy and state of the country and domestic policy. So all good things. You need to be talking more about that. Elon Musk makes U-turn, promising to upend U.S. politics with third party, and then goes all in to support J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio by extension. Elon Musk considering backing J.D. Vance in 2028 rather than starting a new party. I have no idea if this is true, but I am all for it. Obviously, the two of them very aligned on AI and a bunch of other stuff that Elon cares about. J.D. Vance, again, always dominating these polls, always winning these polls. Okay, so here we go. This is Donald Trump talking about how much he would want a J.D. Vance Marco Rubio ticket. He's talked about it multiple times. Here's on the plane.
Well, we have great people. I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have J.D., obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that.
And here's Donald Trump at a recent speech in Washington, D.C., talking about it as well.
Trump, nice to see you got off the roof all right.
Yeah.
You said this morning that you probably won't be running for a third term. This weekend, Secretary of State Rubio said that he thought J.D. Vance would be a great nominee. You could clear the entire Republican field right now. Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
And here's finally Marco Rubio sounding off on all this. Lord Trump's interview with Marco, saying, are you going to run in 2028? And Marco Rubio immediately demurs and, well, topic of the video. Here we go.
Final question. You just brought up your run in 2016 for president. You are talked about quite frequently as a possible contender in 2028. Do you have your sights set outside of the State Department?
Well, I think J.D. Vance would be a great nominee. And if, I think if he decides he wants to do that. And so, I think he's doing a great job as vice president. He's a close friend, and I hope he intends to do it. I know it's kind of early, but being in the role that I'm in here at the Secretary of State, I really don't play in politics. There's actually rules against me being involved in domestic politics, and I want to do this job as long as the president allows me to do it, and stay in that job, which would keep me here all the way through, January of 2028. I feel, honestly, you never know what the future holds. You never rule things out or anything like that, because you just don't know. Things change very quickly. But that said, I believe that if I am able to be here, through the duration of this presidency, and we get things done at the pace that we've been doing the last 6 months, I'll be able to look back at my time in public service and say I made a difference, I had an impact, and I served my country in a very positive way. And I would be satisfied with that as the apex of my career, and so that's what I'm focused on right now, because we're doing some special things that I think are going to bear dividend and fruit for a generation.